Hi, welcome to Gruesome Twosome Reviews. I'm Jay Gruesome.
And I'm Jay Putrid.
And today we're going to be reviewing the movie Grace from 2009. So, plot of this movie. After a near-fatal car accident, the pregnant protagonist Madeline decides to carry her dead baby to term, and when the baby comes back to life, Madeline soon discovers that her baby thrives on human flesh to survive. So, woo!
Sounds like an Amazing Killer Baby movie.
Yes, that is one hell of a plot. So, we'll go ahead and do what we do and jump into the cons.
So, first con with this movie is the performance of the actress who plays Madeline. It's very disconnected. I understand, like, throughout the movie, she is dealing with trauma and the fact that she has anemia problems just because of the pregnancy and everything like that. But overall, it just feels like she's very disconnected. You don't, like, this woman is literally, like, in just neutral the whole time. Even when it's very, supposed to be like an emotional, intense scene, it's kind of just subdued.
Yeah, you can't, at least I felt I couldn't really connect with the protagonist. And, like, in this situation, you should be able to. She's going through this really crazy experience. And, having to do, like, all these really desperate things in order to
It's
keep
very
her
tragic.
baby alive. Yeah, but the entire time, and this could be on the actress's part, or this could be on the director's part, or even the editing. Who knows what the actual problem is, or, I don't know. Like you said, that this character just feels very disconnected to everything, even when she is dealing with these issues with her baby. So she's not a really identifiable character. It's more like, I'm not really sure. That was one thing that just constantly bothered me throughout the movie. Like, I wouldn't really react like that. And a lot of it was just like underacted, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's very subdued. A lot of times, there's certain parts where you're just like, holy shit, and you're actually feeling for this woman, but then just
her performance.
Her performance or the delivery of lines, it's just not really, it doesn't take away from the movie overall, but it is something that does kind of hinder it a little.
Oh, yeah. Another thing that's...
Sorry.
So, another thing that was on our list of cons was that there was some pretty cheap CGI, particularly CGI flies.
Yeah.
That didn't really need to be there because they do have practical effects in the movie. They don't just rely on CGI. And they could have just relied on their practical effects where they were very strong and the CGI was very weak. And yes, it is from 2009.
And
so
it is a lower budget film, too.
Yeah, it is going to be kind of its time, and that does show a little. But they didn't really need to put the CGI flies in there. And basically these CGI flies are in here because they're
trying to prove the point that the baby is not alive. The baby is dead.
So, I don't know. It didn't really need to be there. I guess I get what they were trying to accomplish there, but it didn't really do it for us.
Another issue that we had with this movie had to deal with Madeline cooking in her kitchen while watching movies of what happens in slaughterhouses to, like, animals and stuff like that, which it's like, we get it, she's supposed to be a vegan, but at the same time, what vegan goes out of their way to constantly watch animals being slaughtered and killed?
Another one of the characters actually brings it up. She's the midwife, Patricia, and brings it up, like, why do you watch these things? And she responds with a little, oh, it's a a vegan horror movie.
Yeah, it's literally a vegan
No.
horror. It's like, oh god. Like,
yeah,
okay,
what is wrong
you
with
suck.
you? You suck as a person.
It's like, you're a terrible vegan.
Anything with animal cruelty, I absolutely hate. And this is like a movie that was made in 2009 to where it's like, come on, it's 2009. It's not 1970 whatever exploitation.
Yeah. This isn't Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah,
people.
exactly. So it's like there was kind of no reason to have it other than to have like a shock value aspect, but it's just annoying.
I think it's just kind of misinformation, maybe, on the writer or the director. It's like, this is what vegans do, because vegans is semi-new in 2009.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, it's not a new thing, but,
No.
you know, release it to the world, yeah, it's new. So I think that might have been it, just misinformation or whatever, but still equally
pointless and unnecessary.
Annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving on. We didn't like the disregard by Madeline, which kind of goes back to the acting, for her husband Michael's death. He does die in the car accident, so it was fatal for him. Well, obviously, he's dead.
It's fatal for him and Madeline's unborn child.
Yeah, Grace. So, So her husband dies and she has absolutely no reaction to it. The only character that does have a reaction to it is the mother-in-law Vivian, who is
a psycho.
A completely different topic
Yes.
that we'll get to shortly. But, I mean, I just don't understand why there is absolutely no reaction and there's no regards or mention of his death. She just kind of goes on with life, and it can't be too long after the car accident because since the car accident happened, she
carries the baby to term.
Yeah, so that's what kind of kick-starts the story. And I mean, all throughout the movie, Grace doesn't age like a ton. It all happens in a very short amount of time. So for her to just kind of go back to daily life without ever mentioning Michael's death, and yeah, he's not like a great character or whatever, he's kind of in the movie and then out of the movie as fast as it happens, but I just didn't really understand that. And the movie just goes on, and there's kind of no mention of him except for by the mother-in-law, who's obviously upset over her son's death and takes it to an entirely new level. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away.
Which is a perfect segue to the pros that we saw in this movie.
Exactly. So, this was my first time seeing it. He had already seen it prior, and the entire time I'm watching this movie, I'm trying to figure out if Grace is actually alive, or if she's, what is in the movie, that she's this, like, undead, basically like a zombie baby, for lack of a better description, or if, everything is happening in Madeline's head, like, a baby isn't actually there, and she's just kind of, like, catering to this psychosis that she developed through this traumatic experience.
Because she does isolate herself.
She does.
You don't see a lot of characters, and then when you do see characters, they're in different scenes. They're not with
They're
her.
doing their own thing,
Yeah.
separate from Madeline. So, like, our main characters, you obviously get the mother and father-in-law, and they're basically doing their own thing most of the time. Yes, their story develops for purposes of, like, the development of the mother-in-law and what she does eventually. You get a doctor that comes in who is, like, the family doctor that Vivian wants to send over and check on Grace and all that stuff. And there's, like, obviously this tension between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. So,
and then the midwife in the middle of everything, just trying to figure out what's going on. And
yeah, and she does have good intentions, but for the most part, her assistant actually tries to keep her away from Madeline.
Yeah.
And it's, she mentions stuff like, she's sick. So that could mean plenty of things, like whether she's physically ill or if it's a mental state.
Yes.
So, the guessing game is really strong with this one, and it keeps you guessing until it comes to this overall answer at the end.
Another pro is the use of practical effects in this movie. It is, I really love it. Yeah, there's some parts where it's like, it's like, that's not the baby, that's like the baby from like American Sniper or some shit. They probably use the same like baby.
It just gets passed around to all these movies. Oh, I need a baby. Stat.
But when you see Madeline holding this dead child, this lifeless child, like you really do feel, because it's that the effect was done very well.
Yeah,
and the build up to it and the
well.
tension, like it worked really well. Especially the gore effects too. The gore effects were freaking amazing. There were some really bloody scenes.
Yeah, this movie does actually get gory as it progresses.
Yeah.
And then there's like the entire aspect of this baby thriving on human flesh, so you gotta wonder, ooh, what does that cause? What does that stir up in the movie?
Yeah.
Who dies? That's what I was wondering. But yeah, and going back to that whole mother-in-law, she was genuinely unnerving. And yes, there's like already the tension between those two characters, Madeline and Vivian. There's like the side comments like about her being vegan. Is that safe for the baby? It's kind of like someone else coming in.
Just like these old world like ideas of what health is and what it should be.
It's super outdated, and Madeline's just doing her own thing that is best for her and Grace. So it's basically that whole concept of somebody else kind of trying to come in and tell you what to do and how to raise your child.
Just backseat parenting.
Yeah, perfect. Yes, and what happens after the husband Michael's death is that Vivian goes insane.
Yeah.
Like there was already the tension there before, but after that death, she takes on the role of wanting to be a mother again. And she wants to practically be a mother to Grace. She doesn't want Madeline in the picture anymore. So this woman is kind of just going out of her way to get into this baby's life. Like, I need to be there. I need to raise her, because if you're around her, who knows what's going to happen, It's like all this crazy stuff without giving away too much, because we do really recommend that you see this movie.
Yeah, the mother-in-law in this movie, Vivian, she is terrifying. Like, she is she's very intimidating. It's almost like the way she reacts and her whole just downward spiral throughout this movie, you think to yourself, wow, this woman is very unhinged. She needs some help. Like, it's probably not even help. There's no help around to help this woman. She is a fucking nut. But at the same time, you have the contrast, which is Madeline, who is just very disconnected with the fact that her husband died. It's like it doesn't even matter. So you have literally two extremes going on, where you have the mother who cares way too much and like just literally just wants to take this kid from her daughter-in-law and be like, no, it's my kid now, not yours. You're not allowed to be around this kid because your new age thinking, is poisonous to the kid.
Yeah, and that's literally what I guess on the outside is what the tension is, and it just gets deeper.
Yeah.
It's really unsettling. She's a really crazy character and great addition to what is already a horror film with this undead zombie child. And then you just add her into the mix, and it's like, oh my god. So
I wanted this woman dead.
yeah, definitely. Another thing that kind of came up earlier was that it did have a really good ending. And it's got one of those endings where the story could continue, but it leaves you satisfied.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much away about the ending.
Yeah. Try not to say
but
too much. That's
honestly, the way everything escalates and how it ends after that, you think to yourself, wow, like it's almost like a punch like into the gut, because you're just like, oh shit. And then how it ends, like she says, it ends where it's like you can see this story go on more, but knowing that it's not going to, also it leaves you very satisfied, because that's kind of how some great horror movies are, where it's like it leaves it to the to where it's like, oh, this maybe could like continue. And sometimes it and it's not like this stupid jump scare like
No.
how people like doing it, or like an eyeball, like an eye just suddenly opening and you just hear zing, and then that's how it ends. It's not cheap. It doesn't feel tacked on, and at the end you do feel satisfied, and it's like, oh shit, this story literally continues in its own universe, and that's awesome. But
Yeah.
as is, it has a really great ending.
Yeah. Really strong ending to a pretty strong plot. And going on with that, this is just a well-written, cohesive story that is bound to unsettle and disturb and keeps you on the edge of your seat. This is a movie for all moviegoers, not just horror fans. This is something that's, no matter who you are, especially if you're a new parent, you're gonna feel the fear in this movie.
You're gonna feel the fear. You're gonna feel that existential dread. Everything. Like it's a very effective horror movie that is based around literally a zombie baby that was birthed by a vegan mother, and now she has to, supply it with blood.
Yes. And it's just like
irony.
Yeah, it's easy to, though you can't really identify with the character Madeline herself, you can put yourself into that situation. What would I do in that situation?
Yeah.
What lengths would I go to for my child?
Yeah, it's all in all, the writing is really good. The story is a really good original story that I really love. I really love a new twist on very, very out there ideas. Like a killer baby movie. It could have easily been another It's Alive, but it's straight away from that. It literally focuses on character development. It focuses on atmosphere. It focuses on emotion. It really works. Aside from some of the acting, I honestly feel like it doesn't take away from the whole movie. It is kind of a bother, but it's not a big bother. It's not gonna take away from the overall feel of this movie. So yeah, I guess this is the final judgment. Would you watch it again?
Oh, definitely. Since I've only seen it once, and it was particularly to do this review, I feel like I could watch it again and pick up a little bit more, things during my second watch. And I feel that, with recommending this, like you said, it does stray away from your typical killer baby movie and it takes its own course. So, like I said, it's one of those movies that's just kind of enjoyable for everybody, especially if you just want something thrilling.
Yeah, and something different.
Yeah.
This was actually my second time seeing this movie. Watching
So he
it
did watch it again.
Yeah. So I did watch it again, but would I watch it again?
Yes.
Yeah, I really would. It's not a movie I would constantly put on, like maybe once a month or something like that. Like maybe like once or twice a year, maybe. But all in all, it is a movie that I would recommend. I actually would strongly, not highly, but strongly recommend for people to see if they haven't seen it yet, and to just sit down and just let this movie play out. You're gonna get your explanations, except for one explanation of why Grace is the way she is, but it doesn't matter. That's not the whole point of the movie.
Yeah, so if you really want to know that and you go into watching the movie thinking that way, you're not going to get any answers. But if you just come into the movie because you want to see something that's genuinely entertaining and has a really great cohesive story, yeah, go ahead and check out Grace.
Yeah.
So, like we always say, if you guys have comments on the movie Grace or recommendations for other killer baby movies or movies that are just similar that have just as much tension to recommend for us, go ahead and put it in the comments below, and we will obviously get back to you, talk with you, whatever.
Mm-hmm. And then if you have any other suggestions on what movies you would like to see us review or talk about, or just destroy like how we did with Devil's Candy, just down there, just leave a little comment.
And we will get back to you. So I think that's a wrap for us. So until next time.
See you later.